The McDougall Creek wildfire began about 10 kilometers north of West Kelowna. Within 48 hours, it grew quickly and aggressively.
The fire chief of West Kelowna says the battle against the destructive McDougall Creek fire is now in the hills above the community.
Fueled by strong winds and extreme heat, the McDougall Creek fire became an unstoppable force of destruction.
It's amazing what can be done when you rally with somebody who's leading the way, which Todd did.
Okay, on the boards now. Ready? Go. Wheel, wheel, skate, skate.
Todd Simpson and Domi going at it, and these are two heavyweights, let me tell you.
We were rookies together. I was 19. He would have been 23. I think he was named captain his second or third year. He was definitely a leader on our team.
Get those legs going, Simpson. Get moving right away. Go. That's better, that's better.
We got him in Ottawa, so we got to play together. If anything's going to happen, he's going to be right in there and not ever back down.
Now Simpson got the left. He's one of the tough guys that Ottawa has picked up.
He's a hard-nosed player, great teammate. Todd's personality, nature, whatever you'd say, he's a very welcoming, inclusive person.
That was an awesome play. Way to pass it.
Back to the line now. It's Simpson taking the shot, scored!
Okay, boys, good work this morning. Way to battle, way to check. There's some good plays there at the end. Good job, bud.
You look around Kelowna and it's one of the most beautiful places on earth, maybe.
It's just a wonderful place to raise a family, kind of small town feel, nice community.
I've always loved the water, I've always loved the lake. Just a beautiful spot. So 2002, decided to make this my home.
Would you like one of these? Okay, let me get you a plate. Do you want to take a bite of mine first to see if you like it? Is it good? You like it?
When Todd was still playing, he bought a place here, so we would still continue to visit all the time. And then my brother said, hey, you should come join me in the real estate business, and here we are 10 years later.
When Kent was able to move here, it's been fantastic. I think we're a lot closer now than we've ever been.
You know, he was playing professionally, I was playing overseas. I think it probably made us a little bit closer when we saw each other. It made the bond that much more special to be able to hang out. And then, of course, moving out here, it's been amazing.
It's been a devastating day in the Okanagan, with tens of thousands being told to be ready to leave at a moment's notice as a number of wildfires burn near West Kelowna, Kelowna, and Lake Country.
When you live or you visit the Okanagan Valley, you understand that forest fires are a very real possibility.
You know, every summer there's, the smoke and there's spot fires here and there, and you're thinking that it could happen.
And this fire had started up on McDougall Rim, just kind of in West Kelowna here. But that was nothing new. You know, it wasn't anything to be worried about.
Just remember seeing the huge pumice smoke coming up over the hill just right behind us. Not thinking much of it.
A couple days went on, the fire was still going, it was getting bigger, you're watching the reports.
You can see the wind here in West Kelowna that has been fanning the flames all day from the McDougall Creek wildfire. It's burning behind that ridge, and all day massive plumes of smoke have been coming up over that ridge.
The winds were picking up, and I think maybe for the first time that's when, you kind of got a sense from the firefighters that, geez, this thing's maybe going to be a little bit further out of control than they anticipated.
Here's the video, boys. That smoke is quite a ways away behind our houses, way up on the other side of the ridge. But the wind is moving a lot.
You did started noticing lots of plumes of smoke.
Kind of went out into the lake and you could see, oh yeah, this thing's growing.
It escalated very quickly, and it was really intense, honestly.
Sure enough, we get back to the house, and then yes, everyone in the neighborhoods have been told that they've got to evacuate.
A local state of emergency has been declared. 831 properties have now been ordered to be evacuated. Officials warn the next 48 hours will be the most critical of this wildfire season.
My wife phoned and said, we're being evacuated. This would be probably the 5th time we've been evacuated in this neighborhood. The other 4 times, nothing really happened.
At this point, now the police officers are on the driveway saying, okay, you guys got to get going. First thing was making sure my parents that live next door were aware that we have to be evacuated.
boom, all of a sudden it was like, okay, it's time to get out. The wind is coming and the fire's coming this way.
You quickly realize, we need to actually pack up and get out of here.
And as we're driving up the driveway, that was the first time where you actually saw flames, and that's where you're going, okay, it's real. We're out of here. It was obviously probably for our community, probably like the scariest, just how fast it was actually moving into our community.
I'm kind of realizing as we're packing up, like, Todd's staying, and he kind of alluded to that in the afternoon. He's like, well, if we are evacuated, I'm staying. And I'm like, yeah, that's funny, but you're not. You're coming with us. And he was dead serious.
Well, I pretended I was leaving all along because I didn't want to upset my family, my wife. I didn't want to, let them know what was going on, but I knew I was gonna stay.
I was very angry at him. Like, I didn't even kiss him goodbye. I was so mad. I just thought, you're in over your head. Like, you can't save this. Like, this is way bigger than anything that you can control.
My dad was just like saying goodbye and telling us where we're gonna go. At that time, I was like, what are you doing?
He just was like, nope, I'm gonna save our house. I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna do everything I can. And I appreciated that, of course, but I was worried about him.
There's the house, there's the fire, the wind is sure howling. Here's the getaway vehicle. We're poised, we're in position. Everything's good.
The biggest thing is we kind of finished this house, and I knew I was going to be safe because of the lake. I knew I could escape. I knew I wasn't going to get trapped. Like, if I was in a landlocked place, I never would have stayed.
Recommendations that we always want people to, like, not try and stay at their properties and stuff like that, but he obviously felt very strongly that he needed to stay and save his property. Probably the biggest stress at that point was, learning that my brother was still at his house. And he answered the phone, and he was literally on his roof at that point with a garden hose. I said, get out of there, you idiot.
I was sending him pictures from West Harbor there. We could have a view of the fire coming down the mountain, moving super fast. And so I was sending him pictures being like, you got to get out of there.
It honestly looked like volcanic lava coming over the mountainside. It was very intense.
You just saw the whole hill light up over there and kind of watched it like a lava flow almost, how it was just progressing down.
Something you'd see in a movie. It's like a bomb went off.
You're nervous, you're anticipating, there's a little bit of adrenaline, but it's kind of like you don't know what to expect. You could see the fire coming from all directions, but I just didn't know what it was really gonna look like or how it was gonna behave till it's like right there.
It's coming down, it's getting close on all sides. It's not looking very good.
I couldn't communicate with him beyond, I want to say, midnight that night.
We got some updates from him that night, and it was just really hard to sleep knowing that he was still there.
We had no idea that he was still over here, which was probably a good thing. But we could see a couple of houses on fire up the lake from Todd, just on the other side of the park here.
It was 100%. It was like, I'm not gonna lose to this fire. I'm gonna battle, I'm gonna fight. Like, it was totally that old hockey mentality. Like, I was not gonna give up, I wasn't gonna quit.
He's got a hillside right beside his house. The grass fires were coming towards his place, and I think he was just, using all means necessary, and it dawned on him, why don't I grab a shovel and just start shoveling dirt onto these little spot fires.
I was basically just going like this as hard as I could, and then taking a little chunk of dirt and throwing it. And it's amazing, but that's how you can put out a fire. Then the fire just would stop right here. And then all the bushes in there were on fire, and I had to take my bucket, and I was running in the lake, fill it up. I did at least 100 buckets there, and everything here was just toasted. I mean, these trees are on fire here. I was literally just throwing dirt up on the tree, and it put it out. If it got to those junipers, I really felt like the house was gonna be gone, would be lost. I just kept digging dirt and throwing dirt on the fire, running into the lake, filling up with a pail of water, and really hard to describe. It was just incredible how hard the human body can work and how it can react. I remember this was an area where I burned my feet because the pine needles were so thick and they were on fire, and you're trying to shovel it out, and you can just see how deep they are, and you can see how burnt the ground is underneath there. I took a break. I was so tired. I laid down like on the grass and my back was just like I could barely move. And then all of a sudden I looked up and I saw more fire, and like a switch went on, and didn't have any pain, and just worked for another 8 hours. Something happens in the game, you're getting in a fight, and all of a sudden you're fighting Bob Probert or Ty Domi. I mean, your adrenaline is is really high, and this whole fire experience, it was like much higher and for a much more longer time. You're just in a total panic, total adrenaline rush. It was crazy.
At the time, I think the fires were not at its most intense at the location of our house, but we were not out of the woods by any means. There was a very large tree, you know, maybe 50 feet from our home that was candling.
I haven't been through here since probably like within a week after the fire. This tree was a big worry. This thing was on fire, it just would never go out. You couldn't put it out, it just was amazing. Couldn't even get that close because it was so hot, it was so strong.
We go down to Rimmer Bay, and right when I'm pulling those out, I kind of noticed this guy kicking around down there. So I'm putting this fire out, and then there's some more active fire over here, so we kind of put that out, and I look in the back, and there's this guy, and he's like, starts like jumping up, and he's like, yeah, and he's all really pumped, and I was like, that's Todd. So he's like, can you guys go put that fire down? It was like at the start of a tree, kind of right by his house. Scale down, and I knocked this fire out, come back up, and we just kind of gave each other a couple high fives.
And I came up, I was like, yeah, I was so pumped up. I'm like, Mike, yeah. I mean, I'm sure he'd been up all night fighting the fire too, but timing was amazing. He was great.
Fueled by strong winds and extreme heat, the McDougall Creek fire torching nearly 200 properties.
The weather turned, and I need to know what the status of my house is at. So you know what, I literally I grabbed a guy in the marina. It was a wonderful man and his son, and I just said, excuse me, do you see those flames there? I think that's my house. You know, would you mind taking me in your boat? And he said, get in. And so I went and grabbed my dad, and we hopped in, and the four of us went across there. And as the smoke kind of started to dissipate as we got closer, yeah, you could see my parents' house was completely engulfed.
I could see our house was fully engulfed. And it was almost surreal. I think, well, yeah, it's gone. Nothing you could do about it. And, you know, I knew Kent's was next.
And I thought, okay, I've seen enough. I've kind of spent the whole day trying to see my house. And I realized at that point, I don't need to see it burn down. You know, my dad's as tough as they come. And, you know, we just sat there and had a big hug. And he took it a lot stronger than I did, for sure.
A desperate battle against wildfires that have lit up the mountainsides in the Okanagan region has turned a corner.
At this point, I have no idea what Todd's been through. I had actually talked to a couple of firefighter friends of ours that had kind of updated me that, well, A, he's still alive, so that's good, and he was still at the property.
Unbelievable to think that he'd been here the whole time and, you know, was fighting the fire. He said, 4 times I thought I'd lost the house.
You know, it got as close as mere feet away. Had ours gone, I think absolutely it's very realistic to say that it would have just continued.
We did help him a little bit here and there as best we could. We did a pretty good job with just a garden hose and a shovel.
After a few next days, everything kind of settled and it was calm, and Kent called me and wanted to go see Todd, you know, doing what he did to kind of stick around.
I knew he had his boat and he'd offered. He said, hey, if you want to get in, I'd be happy to take you.
I think Todd had just spent 2 days just fighting the fire, and those two kind of saw each other for the first time. So that was quite a moment to see, you know, the brothers kind of meet up like that.
I hadn't seen people, and obviously I hadn't seen Kent, and it was super emotional. It was really tough. I knew his house was gone, my parents' house were gone. You know, the grief and how upset they would be, and you know, it was one of the best hugs I've ever had in my life. I feel for all the people that lost their houses. Like, it's just a terrible thing to have to go through, just awful.
I remember kind of coming through the smoke, and you just expected you'd see something, but it was nothing. You know, it was just rubble.
Basically what
pile
you
of
see
ash.
now, yeah.
The latest wildfire developments out of West Kelowna. The number of homes now said to be damaged or destroyed has gone up, but recovery mode is in full swing.
I think it was the second day we were here, and Todd's dad was here helping us put fires out and move hoses.
My daughter came, and so that was great. She just worked nonstop, up and down. And then, you know, on a different level, my dad, like, his house literally burned down like the day before, and he's coming to help me. You know, I think that's kind of where I get a lot of my leadership from, is my father. he does the right things, and you know, that's just easy. When you see it growing up, then it's easier for you to do and carry on.
He said something to me which was wild. I mean, the guy just lost his house. He said he was devastated because of Todd's game jerseys were in the house.
The only regrets that, you know, he always should have taken a few things out was I was storing a lot of Todd's game-worn jerseys. Didn't think to grab them, which I should have.
When he finally got emotional, he was upset. He's like, Todd, I didn't get your first NHL goal puck out of there, and I know we have all your game-worn jerseys, and when we got evacuated, we didn't take those out. So he felt terrible at that. Like, that's when he was getting emotional. Puck and jerseys, it is what it is. But that's what upset him the most about everything. I kind of wanted to see if I could find that puck. So literally like a week later, I went over to their house, and I knew it was on it was in his office on the wall, but it was like an exterior wall. So I had a really good idea where it was. So I took my shovel and rake and boots and went over there, and I'm digging through, and of course the whole top floor is falling down to the bottom floor now, so you've got to sort through all kinds of crap. And then eventually down the bottom I found some black chunks, so I ended up just taking the biggest chunk.
Simpson has time to the backhand. He scores! Rookie Todd Simpson has beaten Chris Osgood.
I was sitting right behind the net with a family friend of ours, and yeah, that was a really, really cool moment.
That was one of my best memories, of course. That's when you kind of feel like you really made the NHLs. If you can score in the NHL, you kind of really feel like you made it. So, and I remember Kent being there, and after the game, we had a great moment together. It was like, we're here. And
I haven't seen hands like that since, but it was a great goal.
Corey Cross and Brent Seabrook did a ton of work, and they called the teams I'd played for, and one day they said, "Here, Todd, we got something for you." I was out of the blue, and I was like, "What?" And they got me my jerseys. Yeah, that was really special, and just such good friends, so thoughtful. They just were amazing.
My son is a hockey player. He's a huge hockey fan, and so hanging on the wall was my Team Canada jersey from the Spangler Cup, the medal that we'd won. Once we knew the house was gone, my son said, "Hey, Dad, come here," and pulled out a Spangler Cup jersey. And well, yeah, I was overcome. It was, wow. I had no idea. I grabbed it. I didn't know that was something that he would deem as important to him. But I think he knew it was important to me. And yeah, that was a pretty special moment.
It's amazing what can be done when your back's against the wall, and rally with somebody who's kind of leading the way, which Todd did.
He was certainly a guy that, wouldn't back down from any challenge, and he certainly answered the bell on this one.
Definitely proud of him. At first, I was a little bit angry. Once I talked to him and saw how things were, I was like, wow, he really saved the house, like the street.
I still say to this day that it was Todd that saved our neighborhood. I mean, really, it would have swept right through our whole neighborhood.
So he's a bit of a hero.
It was really nice when you hear such an amazing story like this, where, he saved his house, but even the neighborhood. Not surprising with Simmer that he would stick and try to battle it out and not go down easy.
Just incredible, incredibly brave, incredibly stupid, all the above, but what a guy.
Just a solid, amazing person that obviously can come through in some pretty clutch and intense situations.
It was just so special to see everybody, rally around us, rally around my brother, my parents, friends, family, everyone just came together. That's the most important thing. It's not what you have, it's your relationships, and it's your family and your friends.